back to episode 180 of Tall Boy Radio. Yes, you would think with a number like that we would be talking about darts. And you would be quite wrong, because we're going to be talking about something entirely different altogether. As we always say, who knows where it goes when the beer flows. So, without further ado, let's say hello to the two hosts that are with us tonight. Gazza?
Yeah, evening all, evening the world. Really looking forward to this. I say it pretty much most weeks. You know, I love when we have a podcast with a guest on. That's a little teaser. And it's always great, particularly with people who we haven't had on before, just to sort of chat about them and what they do and this and the other. And no doubt, like most of our episodes, there'll be one or two left turns along the way. So yeah, looking forward to this.
Indeed. Dave?
Evening all, glad to be back. Great to have another guest, and I've done zero research, but I think the phrase "let's get ready to rumble" might or might not fit in. I don't know.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
Cracking.
I didn't think you'd know object one about what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, without further ado, let's introduce our guest. James, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be on. My name's James Ellis, and I am a professional wrestler.
Indeed. So, I tell you what, Gaz, I know you're a fan of wrestling.
Yeah.
I know we used to watch it way back in the day as well. Dave, is it your thing?
No, not at all.
No, I didn't think you know first thing about it. So, James, tell us a little bit about it. Tell us a little bit about what your life involves then.
Right. It's a bit of a blank question, to be honest with you, mate, because like usually when like these sort of I do these sort of things like podcasts or like video chats, something like that about wrestling. It's very much usually I'm in my gimmick. And if you can see from my shirt, I've moved my camera up a little bit, but it says the brilliance. So if that's going to give you any indication, I'm a bit of a knob. Prick! Can I swear?
Yeah,
you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, complete prick, guy. Complete prick. And that's the character that I play on most shows that I'm on. And you've caught me at a good time, to be honest with you. I've been doing it about 4 years now. Well, count COVID, year and a half off really, because shows didn't really run. But like the last 2 years have been a little bit of a rise to a rise in terms of like where I was compared to now. And the amount of shows I'm on, and the people I train with, and the people I've wrestled. It's a lot different to what it was when I first started, let's put it that way, and the people and where I trained and everything. It's changed dramatically, to put it best.
Yeah, fair play. So you said there about your nickname that's the brilliance. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen a few clips that you've shared on Twitter as well. Some of the videos. I tell you what, dude, it is really, really good quality stuff. So you're saying there about your training. How much training do you do? Because I will say for the guys who haven't seen it, you're in pretty decent shape, aren't you?
But I wasn't when I started. Let's put it that way. I wasn't when I started. So on average, if you're looking at training, like gym training, 4 to 5 times a week, and then wrestling training, usually once. Well, at least once, maybe once or twice. But like for example, last week I trained. It was a seminar with an ex WWE and TNA wrestler, and that was 3 hours long. So like they're pretty intense. Like, you know what I mean? It really depends, to go off on a bit of a tangent, as you said. It really depends on where you train, like what training school you pick. There's like a number now, and I'm like talking to the tens and above of like training schools that are run by people who used to be like either in WWE or been to the States or Japan. Whereas I think maybe like say even 6-7 years ago, obviously WWE UK wasn't a thing. You wouldn't have had many. You'd have had high level trainers who hadn't been there yet, but they've been like I said, to your Japans, or like they've done a little tour to America or Canada, but not on the level of quality there is now at all. Especially where I started as well. Like I don't think any of them will watch this, but where I started, just to put it this way, like, to be respectful, it was not the best place to begin your journey. But in many ways, it was. It's a weird story.
Can I just ask for clarity? This is WWE and not sort of Big Daddy or Grecian wrestling or something else.
Best way to put it, it is the it's WWE style wrestling, but I have done camp shows which you would like kind of associate with Big Daddy and the 80s and 90s and like World of Sport sort of thing. But
I was going to mention that. I was going to say the World of Sport because like you've got like Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks, was it Mick McManus and people like that, you know, and I loved that. That was brilliant. And I think that's probably what got me started to watching the WWE. And I wasn't or back in the day WWF, but then obviously they had that big lawsuit and But I don't think I was as big a fan as Adam. I mean, Adam, you were a huge fan. You went sort of WrestleMania and stuff, didn't you? And all, you know, you saw various live shows. SummerSlam, sorry, not WrestleMania. Sorry, SummerSlam, yeah. And I never watched one of the live shows, but I was a bit of a fan, and you know, I got my favourites and stuff. So yeah, but no, the World of Sport. I was going to talk about that. Is that was something? How did you get started? Then was it something that like your folks used to watch, and you just ended up growing up? Or was it WWE, and that was how you got hooked on it?
Like, so basically, to give you a little story, as I feel like we're just gonna have to go in and out of stories today. So my mother was given a load of wrestling figures by her friend. Their son had outgrown them. He was a lot older than me. I was about 5 or 6 at the time. Just a box of wrestlers. Didn't have a clue what they were. For all I knew, they were just either action men. There was like The Rock, Stone Cold. I was given like one of those entrance platforms where you put the wrestler on it, played the music, everything. Really? I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then, but we didn't have Sky Sports in my house, so I didn't watch it. I didn't, obviously YouTube was a thing, like, so I just didn't watch it. And then we were in a party about, say, I was like 7, 04, in a party with my parents, like over their friend's house. Got to like 11 o'clock, 7-year-old, still up, like, this is cool. It's a classic wrestler story. Walk past the TV, notice what was like SmackDown, and the first match I watched, if memory serves me correct, was Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio versus Rene Dupree and Kenzo Suzuki, which I know at least one of you is not going to have a clue who any of them are.
It's foreign language.
Maybe it's 2004, so maybe none of you. But it was one of those, I was in awe of it, started becoming obsessed with it then. Would like, when I went over my nan's, would like watch it on like the wrestling channel. I would watch it on the wrestling channel over here because it was free on Sky, on like the sports like section of Sky. But I didn't even watch WWE. I was watching like TNA, wasn't like, and Japanese wrestling sometimes as well. Didn't really get the Japanese wrestling because it was like proper. Now I do. Now I've done it. Like I get what kind of wrestling it is. It's like it's a completely different style to like American. Like you got American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, you've got British wrestling, European wrestling. I've done seminars under coaches who like do British wrestling, and it's just completely different. It's proper like silky smooth, hold for hold wrestling, whereas American is quite pantomime and big moves and big characters. It's a class world to be involved in if you're interested in it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I say, you can probably tell by the whiskers in my beard that I'm a little bit older than you good self. So yeah, I had heard of some of those wrestlers, but going back in the day, it was like the Hulk Hogan and people like that I watched like in WWE, and the same as Gaz said, World of Sport. There was some absolute characters there. The likes of Giant Haystacks, Big Daddy. Like you said, one of my favourites was just Brian Glover, he was an actor, and he did it like, well, he was a student and he was earning himself a bit of extra money. Absolutely fantastic to watch. Very, very, very entertaining. So it's interesting to hear how you got into it, and it's that sort of sucked you in. And it's interesting, actually. We've had a few people on, and they've talked about childhood memories and stuff like that, and things that just resonated with them for one reason or another, and just pulled them in. And then, as an adult, you find yourself doing it. And obviously, you're having to work pretty hard to keep yourself in shape to do it as well. So have you it's a physical thing that you're doing as well, dude. Have you ever seen anybody get like pretty seriously hurt doing it?
Touch wood, not yet. I haven't seen anyone get seriously. I've seen someone like hurt themselves, as in like concussion, like stuff like that. But I haven't personally been on a show where like someone's broken a bone, like even down to a wrist or a finger. Luckily, I haven't seen any of that. I know people who have. Like I know someone who was on a show about 3 or 4 months ago, and in the second match of the evening, someone literally just snapped their leg in half, like went through the skin and everything. Real sad, like, and then not only are you like in rehab, like don't know about work and stuff like that, what that person did, but you then got to like, a lot of the times, they have a lot of bookings coming over the next few months, got to cancel all them, and it's not a good thing, like, you've got to keep each other safe, and that's another key aspect of like wrestling, is especially on this level when a lot of people have other jobs that they need to go to, and a lot of people I found like have jobs where can't really get injured either because they're self-employed or they have their own business, stuff like that. It's different. Like certain people have like jobs where they got healthcare, so they can be off. Obviously, you know what I mean. But it is a dangerous sport, and you are literally going out there and putting your body on the line. All right, you might get paid for it, but at the same time, like there's people who are doing it for a lot more money than you.
Yeah.
Do you when you're arranging the fights on that basis, a lot of it you must have to trust the person you're fighting against. So is there an element of you have to either know them personally or you have to trust their reputation from people before you'll fight with them? I mean, do you ever refuse to fight because you think, I don't trust that person?
I've wrestled people I don't trust. I like saying it. Like I have an element of trust in everyone, but I have like wrestled people I'm like, oh, don't know, this could go a little bit awry. It's just the way I personally like gauge people like on how I meet them if I haven't like met them before. If I meet them and like they're sound enough, like I'm a nice person, like I'm not like my character outside the ring at all. At least I think so anyways. Obviously there's an element of it, but like not to the extent like I know I'm playing a role, you know what I mean? But like I will definitely gauge people before I've like, but the problem is in Wales especially, like I'm on like most of my shows are on in Wales, which is great because like not much traveling, but then I do like to branch out and meet new people. It's like it's networking. But I know a lot of the people I wrestle. So you would go out, and if you're given like 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to go out there and you're going to, because you trust them, like, and you know that they can do the moves, stuff like that. You can really put your body on the line. Like, come out and be like, oof.
Just one question. I suppose it's the age-old question, and you might not want to answer this. It's obviously scripted. To what extent is it scripted? Is it literally like almost a dance that you go through? Is it move after move after move that's scripted, or do you have certain points within a fight that you have to be in this position? Or
so to answer that question, because it's scripted, I say it's choreographed theatre, choreographed fight, and I say that with a twist because like people who ask that question, obviously, like it's your thought in it. You haven't been in there. Well, if you're in there and you're taking the bumps, trust me, like you understand. It's a lot different to what you can think. It's all like scripted and it's a mat and it's just trampoline, and it's like I can't answer that question properly for you. It's like I'm not that experienced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You probably ask someone with a lot more experience. They probably go a little bit off on you because it's like, get in there and have a go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
it's just more in terms of you're both coming off the ropes and you're coming off the ropes.
I think
didn't hear that.
No, it's probably for the best. So yeah, we'll get you off the call. We'll come back on in a second. So I think what he was asking there was about the nature of it. So we had a friend called Todd Orndorff. Now he's based in near Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, and he's been on, and he's trained as wrestling. He did himself a bit of a mischief. Actually, unfortunately, couldn't take it to the level that he wanted to. But the one thing he did tell us is, like, when you're being bounced off the ropes and stuff, and you're slamming on that mat, it ain't soft. It does hurt. You know what I mean? It does kick your butt.
Oh. It's the best way to put it is like, see a ring. If you could look and see how a ring is built, it'll like give you a lot more understanding in like what the person that you're watching is going through. And just a note on it, the best thing I could give you in terms of like the scripted nature of like professional wrestling, it's if you're on like a level show, like an independent show, you might have 5 matches on the card. The promoter will be there. The promoter will tell you, or the booker. You can have like an owner and a booker, which are different. Like the owner obviously pays everyone, puts the show on, promotes the show, and then you have a booker who actually is like a wrestler who books for the show, for the promoter for the show. He or she, they'll tell you, right, you got wrestler A v wrestler B. Wrestler A is the bad guy, B is the good guy. You got 15 minutes. Wrestler B is over, the good guy. Make him look strong, and that's the script you're given. And then as wrestlers, you're expected to deliver to the audience that story. Like sometimes they'll be a bit more in depth. Like certain shows will have like repeat wrestlers on. Like I'm on like a show, like certain promotions I'm on all year, so I will have like a storyline because the same fans will, mostly the same fans will watch every show, so they'll know like who you are. And yeah, it just varies. And then you have like, you do the camp shows, and like they're brilliant. They're brilliant to learn off. Like all these shows just bring to learn off. Like that's the key thing I'll get over on this podcast today, radio. Sorry, is that like I'm still developing, and like I haven't even touched the surface yet of where I want to go, or how hopefully how good I could get. You know, just keeping my head down. Keeping humble and training and getting on shows. Like that's the best way to put it. That's the way you get better at it.
Yeah, fair play. So tell us then a little bit about your character then, like the brilliance. Obviously, you play like the heel.
So, have you ever watched the TV series Hustle? Has anyone here watched the TV series Hustle?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No,
I have. Yeah.
You watched the early stuff or the later stuff?
Probably the latest
like
stuff, I think.
Series 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Right. Okay. What about that? It means nothing then. There's a character on the early stuff called Danny Blue. Like they always say, like, don't. One of the key answers I was given at the start was like, don't base your character off, like a feeling. You know what I mean? Like base it off something you've seen on like a TV film or like a TV series or a film. Like that was the first thing. Base it off that. Like, what would your character do in certain situations? But then translate it to a wrestling environment. And the brilliance is basically like Danny Blue is this character, and he always just like is cocky and always thinks he's like one step ahead of the game. But then in reality, a lot of the times he can get caught out. But somehow at the end of like each episode, he sort of manages to find a way to make it all good again and get from point A to point B. The brilliance is that, but in a like cheating way. Like, right. I'll be brash, I'll be cocky, I'll say I can do this, I'm the brilliance, and then like I might go and get my ass kicked for 10 minutes, and then in the 11th minute I'll do something, cheat, and then win, and then you get the reaction, or hopefully get the desired reaction from what you want from the fans. Or if I lose, brilliant, they start cheering because I got my ass kicked and I lost. You know what I mean? So,
have you ever done any sort of drama training or anything like that, or have you just picked the acting side up, if you like, the dramatization of it as you went along?
No, I did do acting when I was younger, from about 8 to 16. I did dramas. I did like a youth theatre, did shows, did like an acting school till I was like 11, 12, like, you know, acting agency. Then I went like left that 'cause I was just paying money for not getting anything back for it really. You get auditions and like you're an 11-year-old kid and you're getting told, yeah, can you be in London on Monday? I'm like, I got school. You know what I mean? My parents both work full time. Yeah, so that I did that till 16. I did it in like in GCSEs and stuff. Like I was in the school shows. But yeah, so that kind of like probably stood in my favor, but not in a. I wasn't very good at it. You know what I mean? Like the character out there is me. Like I know that certain aspects I've got to exaggerate and like be a dick for being a dick's sake, but the character is me. Like because I think I am funny in a way of like I don't mean to be funny, but I'm just a bit of a tit. And you reflect that, like you're given some direction from a promoter or a booker or a trainer who's like saying, right, add this into your character, or this should be perfect for you. And you add these little bits into it, and then it just sort of like evolves as time goes on. Like I started out wearing, I wanted the brilliance to be it literally was me. Like I wore nice clothes. Like I wore a shirt and chinos, or I wore shirt and trousers. I wore like skinny jeans and polo, like Fred Perry polos. That was every promo I did was in that. And now I'm sitting here talking to you with a Tommy Jeans hat and my own merch. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I would have probably turned up in a polo. Like certain ones I still do, but I felt like this was a bit more of a calm like environment. I didn't like feel the need to do like that full gimmick. Like, and you know, the way the way I dress to the ring, what I wear, that changed and evolved. Like when I started out, I was wearing really shit tights that were just plain black, with Lonsdale boots, which I covered up with tape because I was embarrassed I was wearing Lonsdale, so I covered them with black tape. And then like I got like slowly, like because I said I was in a really like not very good promotion, a not very good training school. Like I was in a ring within 5 months, like on a show. I could barely do a wrist lock. I could barely lock up, and I was doing matches, which is what I like kind of touched on earlier. Like if I didn't have that experience of going in so early and not being prepared, like and then like you know I like noticed that I was like, this is not good. This is not what I want to do with this. If I want to give this a go, then I'm gonna have to like move on. And then COVID hit, and like I was like, oh, better go now. You know, about 4 or 5 months in, just like obviously no rest and training, nothing. I was like, well, I'm either gonna sack this off now or try and give it a go. Like I was 23 at the time. It's like if I want to do it, like now's the time. So I left to go to another training school. I've gone off on a complete tangent here, but like, it kind of like adds into the story. So yeah, to sum up, I was put in the ring after 5 months, did like 10 matches. I literally was like every month would be shitting myself if I went out there because I didn't know what I was doing. Like I didn't know if anything looked good. Like couldn't tell. Like the kit I was wearing didn't look good. This was not what I like. If I imagined myself as pro wrestling, this was not it. So I was like, this is not what I like. And I could see it, but I couldn't find a way to get out of it because I felt like if I went to a different training school, it's the old adage. If I went like, it's like, I don't know, you're playing for a shit football team. There's an opportunity to go and join another football team. Obviously not like Premier League. I'm talking like local league level. They're better, but you don't want to go and train for them because you feel like every one of their players is going to be better than you. You're going to stand out like a sore thumb. Like that is how I looked at it. And then COVID hit, and I was like, "Fuck this! The world's gone fucking mental. Like it's now or never. I'm going to go and be the shit person in this training school." So instead of being like, the big fish in a little pond, I was like the small fish in an ocean. Anyways, so that happened. Started training there in a different school for like, I think I was like 7 months, I think. Maybe like 7, 8, maybe a year. I lie, maybe a year. But this was like infrequent because of COVID as well. Sometimes the school would be shut for like 2 weeks because you couldn't but I started getting booked on these shows because someone who I'd met the first school I was in, who was a wrestler, but also lived in the area, so he came to training. He'd been doing it for years. He made his own promotion. He booked me on it. He gave me the chance, and he said, like, be yourself. I'd come up with the brilliance prior. I'd done it on a couple of shows, but I'd like got new boots and, you know, like I said, the gear, I had better gear. You know, even wore wrist tape. Like, didn't wear wrist tape before. Like, you see every wrestler, they got wrist tape on. Didn't wear it because I wore like biking gloves, like as in like gloves you'd wear to ride on a bicycle. There was nothing brilliant about me. I was calling myself the brilliant. Yeah. So, long story short, like started going to different seminars in like England, meeting different wrestlers, like training to better people, and then joined the current school I'm in now. I made marks last year, get trained by like 2 XWE wrestlers every week now. Had so many connections off doing that. Like, got lucky, been put in good positions on these shows that my training school does. And just, you know, like I said, right place, right time, put the work in, get a little bit of luck, you know, get better, and like just keep your head down and work hard. And that's the brilliance now. Like, you know, that's Jay, you know, that's me. So yeah, that's the long and short story of me and wrestling. But there we are. Great. Cheers for having me, boys. It's been a good one.
No, honestly, yeah, no, it's interesting. It is interesting on just to hear the journey that people take, because there's going to be people that listen to this podcast who are big fans of wrestling and want to hear a little bit about it. They want to hear about the different people that you're training with. And then there's going to be other folks out there who like to listen to us every week and find out something about something that they may not know about. So to hear your journey and how you got started, I think is interesting. And it's also very interesting just from a personal level, just to hear how you perceive yourself. And then, you know, and how you've taken it on in your, you know, in yourself. So you were going out there and you're feeling underprepared. Now I'm guessing you feel like you've got a good idea of who you are. You know what you're doing, and that character that you bring out in the ring, like I say, it's a little bit of you, but it's someone that you know well. You know what I mean? It must be interesting. But I just want to take you back a little bit then. So you see, train there with a couple of ex-WWE wrestlers. Can you tell us those people, just out of interest? Are the people we may know or not?
Absolutely. So, if I go back to say before where I train now, the school I'm in now is called New Wave Wrestling Academy. I will put them over. My first training, so I was on a show. So the first show back after after COVID, like properly, like sort of like restrictions lifted, shows were now on. Like I said, this friend I'd made from the start of my wrestling journey, actually, he was there in the first session. And I've said this on multiple occasions, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, but I turned up with this training school I was in, and I like talked to everybody because I'm a personal, like, been to university, bit of social experience, know what I'm doing, like, know how to speak to people, spoke to everyone. And if I hadn't spoke to him and we'd spoke about football, then I wouldn't have gone back the week after. So like, he can be blamed for like me coming back and staying at that training school, but then also he can be blamed for helping me out loads after as well. Anyways, so like I said, he booked this show, and he booked this ex-WWE wrestler on it. And this wasn't like WWE UK, which was on TV at this time, but he'd been in the American version, and he was on this show. Now, to me, I was like, mind blown. He was on this show. I thought, he's coming down to South Wales to be on a show. And anyways, he was on it. He was on the show. He was sound, really nice guy. Give me some feedback on my match, which I didn't ask for. He came up to me and said, "Oh, I'll watch your match before I went out." And I was there like, "Oh shit, mate." I was like, if I'm gonna be shit now, well, there we are. The dream's over. You know what I mean? And I probably wasn't very good, but I wasn't like bad. Anyway, so he gave me some feedback on the match. Kept in touch with him. And I went up to his training school, which is in like Salisbury. His name's Joel Redman. He was wrestling and wrestled in WWE under the name Oliver, the American version. Obviously, you know, WWE America, WWE NXT is like the developmental brand. So I went and trained with him. And that was like inside, because that was like British, because he was known for like British wrestling, like proper British, like heavy. It was like heavy warm up. Everything was like intense. Loads of press ups, loads of sit ups, loads of squats, you know, like proper train. Like, it was not far because he wrestled in Japan as well. There's a lot of Japanese style stuff as well, like the training regime of it. Anyways, but it was great. Loved it. Hard work, but great. Stayed in contact. Was in their group. Then made it into a seminar at a show. So I went to a seminar before a show with someone he'd recommended for everyone to go to. And then I got booked on that show over there. And like I said, this is where the snowball luck effect was. If I hadn't met him, didn't go to his school, this wouldn't have happened. Anyways, fast forward, joined New Wave, and they're coached by, like if you look at the Welsh team, there's a few wrestlers that stick out the names. Wild Ball Mike Hitchman, Mark Andrews, he's been in WWE and TNA. Who else is there? Flash Morgan Webster. There's a women's wrestler called Danny Luna. So Wild Ball Mike Hitchman is a trainer at that school I go to, New Wave. Danny Luna's a coach, and then you've got like two top end independent wrestlers called Brendan White and Nico Angelo, and then you have Danny Jones, who's also been on WWE TV as well. These have all been on WWE UK. So like the caliber, like you don't just get signed if you're not very good at your job. Like it's the caliber of training is incredible.
Yeah, dude,
it's a really good environment as well.
Yeah. I mean, for those in the know, I guess those names would probably mean a little bit more than perhaps they do to us. But fair play. There's a lot of experience there, and to be picking up on. So, who are the biggest names then in Welsh wrestling at the moment, other than your good self? Who else should our listeners be keeping an eye out for?
I mean, if I was lucky enough, I'm probably like an up and coming youngster. Like the biggest, so the biggest names in like Welsh wrestling right now that aren't like on the Welsh wrestling camp shows, because like those, I've been on those shows and they're great, to be fair. I've done like a Treco Bay Holiday Park, that is in Porthcawl, like that area, South Wales, wrestling in front of like 800 people. You know what I mean? It's mental. So, but they like a lot of the wrestlers on there like only do Welsh wrestling, whereas I've like been able to luckily been able to dip in and out and get an experience of everything. And I enjoy the independent style of wrestling more, but that's just me. So like the biggest stars in, like I say, like Wild Ball Mike Hitchman is one. Brendan White, like I said, anyone I named earlier of those five. Mark Andrews, Flash Webster, great. Harrison Bennett's another one. Like these are all like, if you never heard of them, some people who listen might have heard of them. I'm trying to think off the top of my head now. You've flabbergasted me.
We like to do that.
Yeah, throwing you under the bus.
Yeah, I'm literally just thinking off the top of my head of people who are Welsh now. I probably not going to say people I don't even know. Is a wrestler called Elijah. He's brilliant. I've wrestled him a few times. He's a very good friend outside of the ring as well. He's really helped me over the last few months because I've wrestled him loads on these shows, and they're not like 5-minute matches. They've been like 15 to 20-minute matches. God, who else? Splits McPins, great name, great character. If you can think of, what do you think the gimmick is? Splits McPins.
Splits McPins. I'm guessing.
What do you think is?
I'm guessing can he do the splits? Am I overthinking it?
Think of the second name.
Pins. Yeah, he's not one of these dudes who just the slams onto pins and stuff, does he? Like the attack. Go on. Oh,
any ideas or not?
Splits pins. Is it? I mean, is this referring to the old wrestling pin? Like
no,
1, 2, 3. No.
It's to do with bowling. So he comes out and he's got a mask that's like a bowling ball. He has like stripy, what do you call it? Tights.
Yeah.
He has like a bowling jacket, like bowling shirt as his entrance gear. Brilliant, but a great wrestler as well.
Fair play.
I've just got a question I need clarifying, because you mentioned a few times about the camp shows. Is that like a holiday camp as opposed to a Graham Norton camp?
Holiday camp.
Right. Okay.
Graham Norton wrestling is a whole different podcast. That's just something completely different. That is.
I didn't know if that was just a particular sort of, genre or theme of wrestling camp, but no. You mentioned about playing in front of 800, so I guess then it might have been a holiday camp.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have clarified. That was just
No,
right.
no,
I
no.
thought in wrestling terminology.
Everybody else got it, don't worry.
So just saying, what's your, how far can this go? What's your dream? Like, where do you want to take this? Are you happy at the level that you're at? I'm sort of assuming that you have another job as well, or is it, is it something that you want to do full time? Would it be financially beneficial for you to go full time? Like, where, if we were talking to you in 5 years' time, where would you be?
Well, 5 years' time. I don't know. Like when I started this, obviously I didn't think I'd even I think my first I set like goals with every sort of I don't know. It's like not chapters. I feel like it's a good word to put it as chapters. You close it, you end one chapter, start a new one within that, but within like certain aspects of your life. And like wrestling is now like firmly one of those. And when I started, I had like mini goals. Like one was like wrestle a match, then it was wrestle 10 matches.
Yeah.
Then it was wrestle someone who like has wrestled for the WWE. And like slowly but surely, luckily, I was ticking these off. So like next one I got, and I was wrestle 100 matches, which I'm about 6 or 7 off.
Right.
Wrestle 50 matches in a year. Like little things like this. And I feel like maybe if you ask me this question in 2 years, I'll probably be like, oh, like I want to do a tour of Japan, or I want to do a tour of America. Maybe get signed. Like there's meant to be like a WWE European brand coming up now. UK's closed. They want to make it like all of Europe. So maybe like in like 3 years' time, get an opportunity there. I'm still relatively young in terms of wrestling. I'm 25 now. And if you ask me in 5 years, probably like, I don't know, I'd be like just enjoying it. If nothing had come of it, I'd be like, I've lived like a dream that I wanted to do. But no, I think that like my attitude towards it and what it could be has completely changed in like the last year because of the people I've been around and the confidence and like the ability they instill in you and the willingness just to get better and better. It's like completely, I was motivated for it before. I've been motivated since I came back like from COVID because I wanted to give it a go. Like I got in shape. I started tanning, so I actually looked a little bit decent on shows. I like changed everything about like the way I looked on shows, and and I got like the mini rewards. I got more busy, and I always trying to keep on getting busier and just getting better. Like that's the way I look at it. And I feel like if you set yourself too lofty targets, you really get caught on the rat race of it all. Because when you're in it, trust me, it's easy to get caught in that. Like 1 month you might be wrestling like 10 times, and you might be booked 3 times a weekend for 3 weekends in a row, and then you might not get booked for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
like that's what it's like at this level. So I try not to get stuck into that too much. So yeah, that's the best way to put it. There are goals. I'd love to be able to do that, but I don't want to say it out loud just yet. I don't think I'm experienced enough.
Yeah. So just in terms of then, you want to do a bit more, and you want to be able to, to fulfill your goals as such. Yeah. In terms of the toll physically on your body, then I mean, obviously you're just a whippersnapper at 25 or whatever you are, So
yeah.
How long does it take you to get over about a fight? Is it do you rock up to work the following day and you're like, oh, this is great, or you're a bit like, oh my god, me joints sort of thing, like, and therefore how often would you be physically able to fight within a period of a week or 10 days, or are you looking at one show a week and that's about it, or could you do more? Or
so the most I've done, I'm quite lucky. I've been like complimented by a few wrestlers who do quite a lot, like who do it full time, who I'm friends with as well, and give me some great advice. Like sometimes they're like, James, you are the best wrestler on this card because I'm so character driven. I like wrestling. I like doing all the moves and stuff, but I'm so character driven that a lot of times, like, I'll wrestle. We won't do much because we won't do it like many big moves because it's not really needed. Like, the crowd are into the match. And like, but I like doing, like, recently as well, the last 3 months, I've liked doing the matches where you're doing a lot. So I can, like, do the character, but also do, like, my peers can watch and go, oh, James Ellis went well today. You know what I mean? He worked hard,
Yeah.
I work hard in every show, like, I find anyways. I always give 110%. But sometimes, yeah, I don't feel like I've done much in terms of match movements and stuff like that. Just because a lot of it's like character-based work, and keeping the crowd involved, keeping the crowd entertained. It really depends on what crowd you're working in front of. You can have these rabid, like, independent wrestling fans. They're all over it. Like, I did a show on the weekend in Prism in Cardiff. Prism, like the club, not prison.
Oh, right, okay.
I had that a few times.
Is that for Dave's
Yeah.
clarification?
I was going to ask that question, so thanks.
But, like, I went out there and it was full of, like, it was an 18+ event. Everyone's doing that to you. You know what I mean? And, like, and then the matches all move. Like, a little bit of character work, move. So I didn't really feel like that much toll on my body. But then I wrestled Sunday as well. I did loads in that match. But also it was like a holiday. I'm going to say holiday camp show match. In terms of, like, it was a
just
lot.
For Dave's clarity, yeah, just for Dave.
There was a lot of families in the crowd, so obviously no swearing, nothing like that. But then, like, even to the point where I get out of the ring, like, and the good guys are like, come on, let's fight. And I'm like, no, take my time. And then everyone starts calling me a chicken. And I'm like, this is exactly what I'm paid to do. Being the bad guy, just being a shithouse heel. But then we go in there and then I'm taking 14 shoulder tackles in a row and I'm bumping for everything. And then I'm all right. I'm buzzing after the match. The adrenaline's high. And then about half hour later, I'm sitting outside having a beer and I'm like, oh, my back's hurting. You know what I mean? Like, that can be the physical toll. But then, like I said, I am, in terms of, like, a wrestling career as well, a whippersnapper. And I don't mind bumping around for anyone. And I'm sure if you ask me that question in 5 years' time, I'd be like, yeah, it takes me quite a while. But not now.
Wow.
Not
So,
now. I just love it. Like, I'd wrestle 7 days a week if I could.
Listening to that little rundown of, like, a few days where you did, like, quite different shows, it sounds like, well, I'll ask you the question: what percentage of what you do overall, taking the different types of fight, the kids in one audience, the drunk teenage young 20s in another, what percentage do you think is the actual wrestling, and what percentage is the character and working the audience of the overall of what you're going to do? What do you think it sits at?
I really think that depends on a number of factors. Who you're wrestling. Like, I may turn up one day and I'm like, let's go, let's do everything in the book, like everything we could think of, let's entertain them. And then that could be in front of, like either one of the crowds you just mentioned. But then you can turn up and, like, sometimes you just know that you've got to go out there and put on a good show and keep the audience entertained. And, like, it can be a split, you know what I mean? You could, like, spend 5-6 minutes just getting the crowd to boo and yay you, and then the next day you could be wrestling and within 30 seconds you've locked up and you're going and, like, you're just wrestling. Like, it honestly just depends on the crowd, the opponent, what the feelings are, and, like, what you think we should do. Should we do, like, where are we on the card? You know what I mean? You could be third on the card or you could be last main event. Every spot is different on a show. Like, every match every match on a card is different, like, in what they bring to the audience. Like, you're on first, you need to get the audience up for it. You need to, like, keep them engaged and involved and make sure the next match, like, comes out and, like, keeps them at a level and doesn't dip them. Like, I was on third on Sunday and the crowd kind of dipped, so the promoter came up for me and my opponent and said, look, boys, you need to get them back up for it. Hence why, like, the bell rang and we didn't lock up for 3 minutes. I left the ring and got a pint of water by the bar while everyone was calling me chicken, because that engages them and then they're interested on what happens in the ring because they want to see me get beat up. Like, and again, like I'm speaking, like I said, I'll tell you right now, like, I'm not the best person to be saying all this because I'm like not that experienced. But this is like from stuff I've heard of people who are more experienced than me, and like things I try to take on as best I can. And yeah, it just comes from speaking to people more experienced and like you only get better at wrestling by wrestling people who have done it longer and who are better than you because they'll teach you stuff. And like you'll learn something from every match you do when you're wrestling someone better than you, more experienced.
And you are, sorry, I was
No.
just going to say, James, you are the best person for us to be asking because it's you we are asking, and you are at this point in a journey. So we couldn't ask somebody who's 2 years behind you or 2 years in front of you what it's like to be you now. So you are the best person for us to be asking these questions, and it's quite fascinating to listen to it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
No. To be honest, I was just about to say something very similar. To be honest, Dave. Yeah, it is absolutely fascinating just to hear what goes into it. And for you, honestly, I don't think you realise how well you put it across to us. It is a fascinating listen in terms of how you're reading the crowd, how how your opponent's reading the crowd, and how and just literally how you design and set it all out. It gives us a little bit of a better indication in terms of, so when Gaz asked that question earlier, what's scripted and what's not, the bottom line is, I guess the script's made up as you're going along based on how people interpret it. So when you say you're the heel and that the people are getting on your case, in the good old days of World of Sport, there'll be a little old lady jumping in the ring and giving you a battering with a handbag, So does anything that anybody ever says to you, like from the crowd, does that ever sting a little bit?
Not really. Like I remember once there's been certain times where I haven't really had an answer for them because I've been shocked at what they said. One of them is like I did a show, a holiday camp show, up in South Wales Valleys. And let's just put it this way: I was called a homophobic slur, and best way to put it, from a kid, and like, I'm all for like you can call me and you could like you. I don't care if a kid swore at me and said that, but like I'm not. But also at the same time, I don't like that. Like that's not the way I was raised and stuff. I literally looked at the announcer. I was like, what do I say to that? And he's like, the announcer was like, if I'd seen that, I'd have literally had him kicked out. Because I was like, it's not about that. You know what I mean? There's a fine line. Like I was on a show on the weekend and like the crowd were drunk and they started, like, there was a guy who was a little bit larger. They started shouting, get your titties out. And instead of that being shut down, he sadly engaged with it. And the rest of the match was just that. They were just, every time he got in the ring, you know what I mean? Like there's certain lines I find that are just a little bit like, it's not really needed. And like, yeah, any slurs, like obviously, like I've never there would be no racial stuff and like that. But yeah, there's like anything else I'll sort of engage with. You can stick your middle finger at me. You can call me a prick. You could probably even call me a ginger prick, and it really wouldn't bother me. But like certain things that I know would offend other people, that's what get to me a little bit. Like that's where I'm like, come on, guys, there's a line here. You know what I mean?
There's a difference, I guess.
Not like that.
Sorry, I was going to say there's a difference, I guess, between attacking the character and basically just saying something that's just plain offensive or unpleasant to the individual.
Yeah, and it's just something where, like, how do I reply to this? You know what I mean? Like that's where I like, there's only been once or twice really where I've like had to sort of deal with it. And I'm really like, I've just like fobbed them off and told them to shut up because it's the only thing you can say, because you're also in a position where you can't be seen to say something like nasty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or something like to reply to it, because like that makes you just as bad.
You can't turn around and say, shut up, you fucking bell end, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Because
no, exactly.
As much as you might want to say that, you're not in a position to be able to do that, because then all of a sudden, then that's just like that. That doesn't work either.
No. Probably the worst, the best one I come up with, I think on the fly, some kid was calling me like fat or something like that, which I didn't bother me. I was like, I'm definitely not, but that's fair enough.
Mate, they're calling you fat, they're calling me obese. Fuck yeah.
And again, it was one of these kids that like not this a different kind of show. It wasn't one of those like the holiday camp shows. It was just a general show, but it was like a family show. And he called me fat. I can't remember if he was fat or he may have been ginger, and I made a bit back. And I just basically said, "Where'd you get your haircut? Or what'd you get your haircut by? Or what'd you get your haircut with? A spoon?" I've never seen a kid just go. He had a proper like bowl cut. I was just literally like, "Get your haircut with a spoon." I've never seen it. I literally the rest of the match, like the best part is like the kid then made himself a target because every time I hit a move, I was just looking at him being like, "Look at that spoon," and I just carry on.
This kid's massively traumatized now. He's like, "Daddy, I don't like it."
I know. I'm not a bully or anything like that, but like it was just like it was. It's probably not the best. Like maybe not the best story to tell you. Like it wasn't terrible.
No,
But,
we enjoyed
like,
it, dude.
Yeah. What else did we? I've had. I had a show recently as well. A kid was like saying to me, I didn't have anything back. It's the first part, like the adults will like get it to a point, they'll boo you. Like if they're drunk and they're really interested, they might like swear or something like that, which is fine. But then like the kids can be ruthless, you know what I mean? Like in their insult. So yeah, like that's like the but then again, not like putting that over, but like interaction between audience and yourself is great because it gets the match over. Like I can go out there and just shout and be a prick, and people are booing me, and I've done the good guy's job is half done for him because all he's got to do is give me a punch and they'll cheer. Like that's wrestling to an extent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So have you ever? You go out and you enjoy the beer and you're out socialising and stuff. Have you ever had any bother in terms of people sort of assuming in a way that you are similar to your character or vice versa? And I don't want to say recognise and you give it the big, "Oh, do you know who I am?" sort of thing. But have you ever found yourself in a situation where you have been recognised by people because of you wrestling and they've seen you and they've then made an assumption that you are similar to your character?
No, not really. As a rule, like once the show's over, if people want to come up and chat to me, if I'm at the merch table selling merch, I'll talk to them as myself.
Yeah.
And unless, again, one of those holiday camp shows, I'll stay in character because like that's what's expected from the promoter. But I would not ridiculously like a dick and like that. But you just stay in character, being like, "Yeah, I'll go on there and I'll sign your poster." Then a lot of the times, like I did a show back in April. We did a 2-night event. It was over WrestleMania, so we did it before the show both nights, and then watched WrestleMania after in a watch party. But where we were cut off from the fans, so I felt quite big time here because we were cut off from the fans. So we were in a different room, and we had free drinks as well. I was like, "This is amazing." But I would go in, like after the free drinks had ended, I would go in and get a pint or get a drink, and there'd be fans in there, and I'd chat to them like normal. We chat about wrestling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I find that like fans what make wrestling happen. If you didn't have like wrestling fans turn up to shows and shows breaking even or shows making money, then they wouldn't do more shows. So therefore, I wouldn't get the wrestling them. So like you've got to you do the show once the show's over, like to a certain extent, not like too much. Don't be too nice, but like you have a conversation with them. You converse and like you see you. I always like say, "I appreciate you coming to the show. Thank you very much for coming. Hope you enjoyed." Like
Cool.
And then they'll come and watch me, and I'll be a dick to them again.
Do you ever get the fans though? Like, and you've probably you'll have seen the clip on YouTube. The guy just believes it's utterly real. Do you get much of those type of fans that are absolutely buying to every bit of it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man.
I lost a belt the other week. I love that. Like, you know what I mean? I love the fact that they're so into it because if everyone's in on the like wink wink sort of thing, it's just you got to. That's the reason we all got into it. I think that definitely changes when you become a wrestler or get into it and start training in it, because you sort of like see the other side of it as in like what it actually takes to do it, and you probably gain more respect for the people who've done it before you and were doing it. But yeah, no, like I lost the belt, and like genuinely, like those people, like it's all filmed. There's generally people like, because they didn't think I was going to lose, but I did. And like that's like cool to see, you know what I mean? Like, especially like as to be fair to the promoter who and he's obviously he's one of my trainers as well. It was our training school. It's the belt for the training school and the shows they do. And luckily I was lucky enough I was selected to be the first champion for it, because I was a bad guy, and it was always good to put a belt on a bad guy first, and I was lucky I got picked for it. But obviously then the chase is on, because you want the good guy to take the belt off the bad guy. And yeah, I lost, and there was people shocked because I cheated 3 times to win on previous shows, so they just thought I was going to cheat again to win, and instead I lost.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's people into that, and people were generally buzzing when the good guy won as well. So like we done our jobs for the evening. It was
fair play.
real special.
Did it suck having to give up the belt?
Sorry?
Did it suck having to give up the belt?
No. Like, especially as I was with one of my mates in wrestling as well, who I got like, I get on with, and it was that person's time. Like it's not about winning or losing wrestling. It's about like having a good match and making sure that whoever you've wrestled in front of or whoever you've wrestled for is entertained or said good job, in my mind.
Yeah.
Like winning or losing doesn't matter, like, because it's scripted, it's predetermined. But like if we'd gone out there and I'd shit the bed and then his moment's ruined, I would have been gutted with that. I'd been pissed off for myself. And I hopefully don't think we did. I think we did all right. So yeah, it was a really good show.
Fair play, fair play. I genuinely think I've learned a lot about wrestling tonight, dude. I really do. I think it's been a really, really interesting perspective about it. So just on fans, I've got to ask another question here, just on the basis of a friend of ours, Shana McShane, who does the Tiddy and Shana show out at Oklahoma. So they had this thing. So they did one, and they did a commentary on wrestling. Okay, so they came out, and it was midget wrestling. And Shana, God bless him, he got high. I mean, he was high as fuck, and for whatever reason, thought it'd be really entertaining if he ran and jumped into the ring and started wrestling these midgets. Yeah, no word of a lie. And there's about 4 or 5 of them. They kicked the shit out of him. You know what I mean?
I bet they did.
Yeah, and we have it on video, and it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. This guy literally jumps in, smacks one of them, and he doesn't move, and it's like, oh, you know the way this is going to go. And he gets his ass kicked and handed to him. Have you had anybody who got a little bit too carried away at one of your events?
Not at one of mine, but I know recently one of my mates was on the show and he was wrestling, and a fan actually jumped in, and yeah, they were lucky that the rest didn't catch them, because they beat the fuck out of them, because unwritten rule, once you get in that ring, if you're a fan and it's not planned, you just get in there because you want to have a bit of clout, good luck, because it's like jumping in the ring and going to Stone Cold Steve Austin on a house show in 1999 or 2000, and he's wrestling Triple H, who is also like that. So the match ends and the fan jumps in, the referee's still in there as well, just about to get on to Stone Cold. Triple H, who's just played the bad guy for 20 minutes, and like judo, like UFC judo throws him over his shoulder and just starts pummeling him, and then the referee starts pummeling him as well, because they're like, once you get in there, like, hey, bonkers, mate. And like the same like rule applies like in the UK. Like, if a fan gets in the ring and they're just doing it for clout, good luck.
Good luck to you, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you ever see it getting back on the? Yeah. Do you ever see it getting back on the telly in the UK?
In what way? WWE or like World of Sport?
No. I mean, yeah, the world of sports stuff, like the stuff that you're doing. I do think that it is something that's missing. In terms of there's so many channels available to watch now. There's an awful lot of shit on TV. It would be really good if we actually could put something like that on, which I used to absolutely love back in the day.
They did a World of Sport revival a couple of years ago. They did a one-off and they did a series. I think it was like 10 episodes. And they did like a tour, but they didn't renew it then. And then WWE UK came along, which was obviously on BT Sport, so it was quite a big thing. So yeah, I think there's definitely scope for it to come back. Like I said, there might be a European brand. Apparently, when they closed the UK brand down, they said it's to revamp and reopen as UK as European. As a European brand in either this year or next year. So I think it would be, but I think like that kind of wrestling Saturday afternoon, like sportatorium sort of like sort of wrestling, like it's not gone because it's everywhere. Like if you see like some of the touring companies, Welsh Wrestling does nigh on 200 shows a year. There's another one in England called Mega Slam Wrestling. They do like nigh on 200 shows a year. There's definitely scope, like All Star Wrestling. That's another one. That was around in the 70s. It's still going today. These companies like tour around the UK and they do like Mega Slam did a show the other day in front of like 1,400 people. That's mental. 1,400 paying customers.
That's good.
So there's definitely scope for it. Definitely scope for it.
Indeed. So we're around about the hour mark, which is where we tend to bring these episodes to a close. So Dave, Gaz, have you got any questions for James while he's still here?
I just one final one from me, and I half suspect you might have mentioned him a couple of times. Who's your favourite wrestler then? Who's the guy that you like? I just want to be that guy.
I haven't mentioned my favourite wrestlers, but I'll give you a number of them because I always mess up who is my favourite. Like my favourite wrestler of all time, I think, is Chris Jericho. I think.
Yeah.
But if I had to give a top 5, Triple H is 1, Kurt Angle, Christian, Edge, AJ Styles, and I just nail like nothing. Like I love The Rock as well. I actually call myself the Brill at points, and some of it stuck with people. Like I call myself the Brill, as in Rocky called himself Rocky Johnson, and then became The Rock. There's certain aspects like you got to take little bits from people who you like admire and like love this stuff. So nice. Yeah, they're a couple.
Absolutely, Dave. You got any questions?
No, I haven't got any questions now. But I was going to say we're going to sign off, but you're going to do your sponsor stuff first, aren't you?
I am going to do the sponsor stuff first, yeah. So if you are indeed listening to this podcast and you're enjoying a beer with it, maybe some snacks would go nicely with that. We would recommend some olives, some nuts, some pretzels, or some chocolate-covered pretzels. Head over to ollies-ollies.com. And if you use the promo code TallBoyRadio, if you're based in the UK, you will get 20% off your order. And Tallboy Radio is all capitals and all one word. And with every order placed on their website, they donate a school meal to a child in need with the help of One Feeds Two. So, yeah, I'll tell you what you can tell us, James, as well, because like we say, I know you have your website there where you sell your merch. Those T-shirts I know that you're wearing right now, I had a look on your website, unfortunately are out of stock. Are they going to be back in stock anytime soon?
These ones aren't, but I've got some new ones coming out that have just been ordered now. They're available on my website to pre-order as we speak. My big cartel is under James Ellis Pro Wrestler.
There you go. Well, I'll give you my word. I will order one of those today. I think we've just lost him off the podcast, unfortunately. So, Dave, did you want to say your goodbyes? Oh, he's back. He's back.
I'm so sorry, my phone shut off.
No, it's fine.
Hello, brother.
That's fine. He's back. We lost Gaz, so you know what I mean. You might as well join in on the party. So yeah. So we've just shared where you can get your T-shirts from, and I promise you this: as soon as we're done here, I'll go and order myself one. That's as a thank you for coming on the episode. So did you want to say? No, absolute pleasure. Did you want to say your goodbyes to our listeners?
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on. I hope you've enjoyed me rambling on about professional wrestling, and I hope that one day you go to watch a wrestling show and maybe I'll be on it. if you want to follow any of my socials, they're all under James Ellis PW. And yeah, if you want to buy a t-shirt, that is available on my Big Cartel. Thank you very much.
There you go. There you go. Gazza?
Yeah, look, I think you mentioned it a little bit earlier. I feel like I've learned loads about like the world of wrestling and sort of more behind the scenes, and I suppose in a way it's not necessarily all the glitz and glamour that you see, but you know, there's guys that are trying to sort of, I say, follow a dream and this, that, and the other, and entertain and stuff. But no, I've really enjoyed this episode. Thanks very much, James, for coming on. It's been great chatting. I apologise if you lost me halfway through or whenever it was. I don't know when it was, but did I do one of my infamous freeze moments again? Maybe.
Yeah.
Potentially. So,
Face wasn't as funny this time though.
Well, there you go. But no, love this episode. And I said at the start, it's great when we have people on who we haven't had on before. It's great to hear their stories and just their life and their life journey and stuff. So listen, I wish you all the very best in the future, pal. Hope it really, really goes well for you. I hope you headline many more sort of events. So all the best to you, buddy.
Indeed,
thank you very much,
Dave.
Yeah, echoing a lot of Gaz says there. It seems that you're pretty sensible, you're pretty hardworking and pretty dedicated by everything we've listened to tonight. I mean, I love the way that you have your plan and it's just one step at a time and the next goal's a little bit bigger and you're not thinking like, you know, I'm going to be WWE in the big, whatever it's called in America. What's it called? The big thing? Royal Rumble? Royal
Rumble, yeah. That'll do, Dave. Well done.
Well done.
So I just love the way you've got these steps, and once you get that, you set yourself another one, the next one along, and yeah, as the guy says, you know, I wish you every success because I think if you keep working out, there's no reason you can't get there.
Yeah,
very much.
I think you've nailed it pretty much in the head. And I was thinking along those lines myself as well, to be honest, Dave, when I was thinking about how to wrap this up. So one of my favourite shirt companies is Dixon Flannel, as you well know. And their motto is work hard, stay humble. And you, my friend, seem to have absolutely nailed that motto. So like Gaz said, we wish you all the best. Hopefully, if we do come to an event, we'll get to see you there. And our listeners will hopefully see you there. And we can only say, like, dude, I think if you stick to your plan, I have no doubt you'll have every success in the world. And thank you very much for sharing your stories with us today, because genuinely, we really have learned a lot about what it actually takes to do what you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening, guys. So we'll see you next week. Take care.